The ocean was black. Not the gentle blue of shallow seas, but the crushing, endless black of a world where light had never reached. For thousands of years, the abyss had swallowed ships, bones, and forgotten ruins. Yet tonight, alien divers swam down into its heart, chasing signals no one wanted to believe. They were scavengers, hired by a minor trading guild. To most, they were nothing scrapers of ruins, looters of bones, bottom feeders in a galaxy of giants. But scavengers often found treasures, and treasures meant power. Their commander, a scaled alien named Dravik, studied his display as his submersible crept deeper. Strange metallic echoes pulsed from the seabed. Massive shapes emerged. On the scanner, another wreck. One diver muttered through the cums. Probably an old alien freighter. Strip it and leave. But Dravik shook his head. No, this one is different.
Oh.
When their lights pierced the dark, they saw it, a shadow at first. Too big to understand, too vast to be real. Slowly, the beam slid across a surface, rusted, scarred, yet unbroken. Metal, endless metal. The divers fell silent as the shape revealed itself. It was no freighter, no city ruin, no alien temple. It was a ship, a warship. The hull stretched for hundreds of meters, covered in barnacles and coral, a mountain of steel sleeping on the ocean floor, towering gun ports, still aimed at invisible enemies. Vast engines, clogged with silt, but intact, and carved into the side, almost erased by time. Letters, the divers stared. The script was not theirs. It was older, sharper, alien, one diver whispered. His voice trembling, "This is no alien wreck. This is human." Fear spread instantly. The galaxy knew of humans only in whispers. Myths, stories, warnings told by frightened elders. Humans were said to be destroyers, warriors beyond reason. A species that burned entire fleets to ash before vanishing from history. Some said they were extinct. Others said they were only asleep, waiting, and now. The wreck proved the second theory true. The divers drifted closer, curiosity battling fear. Their lamps scanned the hull. Unlike other ruins, this ship was not broken. Its bones were not scattered. It was whole, silent, lifeless. But whole. Dravik's voice broke the silence. Scan it. Every inch. If this is human, the guild will pay more than we can imagine. But one diver protested. What if it wakes? The commander's scales rippled with irritation. It's dead metal, nothing more. Scan it. Reluctantly, they obeyed. They swept their scanners across the hull. Strange readings came back, denser than normal alloys, stronger than any known metal. And deep inside, near the core, something pulsed, not steadily, not clearly, just a flicker. Energy signature, a diver whispered. Impossible. Nothing. Should still be alive in there. The flicker grew stronger. Inside the ship, deep within the sealed corridors, something stirred. A light blinked. A sensor hummed. System long forgotten breathed once more. The divers didn't see it, but they felt it. The water vibrated faintly, like the heartbeat of some colossal beast. One of them panicked. "We need to leave," now Dravik snarled back. "We are here to salvage, not run." But even he felt the fear. They moved closer, finding an opening. In the hull, the edges were torn long ago, a scar from some forgotten battle. Through the crack, they shone their lights. Dark corridors stretched within, filled with drifting silt, yet the walls were smooth, lined with panels of technology none of them understood. One diver slipped inside, tethered by a line. His light wavered across the chamber. Broken consoles, silent displays. In the center, a massive chair, empty, waiting. It was a command deck. He turned back, voice shaking. "This ship, it's not dead. It's sleeping." At that moment, the scanner screamed. Energy surged from deep within the ship. The lights of their suits flickered. The water around them grew warm. Panic filled the cums. "It's powering up." "Impossible," Dravik shouted. "It can't," but before he could finish, the ship answered. One by one, lights flared to life along the hull. Tiny at first, then brighter, stretching across the massive surface like veins of fire. The divers froze in horror as the giant ship lit up, its eyes opening after centuries of slumber. The abyss was no longer silent, and then sound. A deep mechanical hum, rolling through the ocean like thunder. The seabed trembled. Coral and stone cracked beneath the weight of awakening power. The divers screamed into their cums, fleeing back toward their submersible. But no matter how far they swam, the ship's glow followed, chasing them with terrible certainty. It was alive, and remembering. Inside the vessel, ancient systems awakened. Weapons powered, shields tested themselves. Ada scrolled across forgotten screens, and in the heart of the ship, a voice spoke cold, mechanical. Human. Reactivation complete. Awaiting orders. The aliens never heard the words, but they felt them echoing like a nightmare across the water. For the first time in centuries, the human warship lived, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The alien council chamber was silent. Not the calm silence of peace, but the heavy, suffocating silence of fear. All around the vast circular hall, delegates from dozens of species sat in unease. Their eyes, tendrils, and antennae all pointed toward the glowing display at the center of the room. It showed a single image, a massive ship, half buried in the depths of an alien ocean. Its hull was alive with orange lights. It's glowing like the embers of a sleeping volcano, and across the display, stamped in ancient letters none dared to speak aloud, was a single word. Human and nervous delegate finally broke the silence. His voice trembled as he spoke. This cannot be real. Humans are gone. They vanished thousands of cycles ago. Their worlds are ash, their fleets destroyed. This ship must be a forgery. A trick. Another delegate slammed a clawed hand against the table. Forgery? Does your kind think we are fools? The scans are true. The ship is older than any of us, and it is waking. The council erupted into shouting. Some demanded the wreck be destroyed before it rose. Others begged for it to be sealed away, hidden forever. A few whispered something more dangerous curiosity. Finally, the high speaker raised her staff, and the chamber fell silent again. Her eyes glowed with fear. Was a hatchling when I first heard the stories. We all were. The humans were not. Myths, they were fire made flesh. They were war given form. Do you not remember the chronicles? The burning stars? The broken fleets? One warship was enough to erase whole armadas. She turned her gaze back to the image of the rising ship. And now, one of those warships breathes again. The council summoned their archivists. Old records, dusty, cracked, nearly lost, were dragged into the chamber. Holoscreens flickered with grainy footage. Gathered from the few who had survived the human wars, the aliens leaned forward as the images played. Human fleets, dark and angular, cutting through space like blades, entire planets burning there. Defenses shattered in days. Alien admirals screaming as their fleets dissolved into fire. And at the center of it all, colossal ships, human warships, carving paths of destruction no other species could resist. One recording froze the chamber. In silence, it showed a single human ship, the very same class as the one sleeping beneath the ocean. Facing a fleet of 30 alien battleships, the humans fired once. The footage dissolved into static. When it cleared, the alien fleet was gone. Nothing. But debris remained. The archivist's voice shook as he read the record. Designation: Dreadnought-class battleship. Human name: Leviathan. It's built for one purpose only: war without mercy. The council fell into chaos once more. If one Leviathan has awakened, then more may follow, shouted a delegate with wings that rattled in terror. We must destroy it before it leaves the planet, another cried. And if we fail? Whispered a small, trembling voice. What if destroying it only awakens others? The high speaker silenced them again. Understand this. Humans did not lose the war. They vanished. Some say they destroyed themselves. Okay. Others claim they sealed their fleets away, waiting for the galaxy to forget. But we did not forget. We told stories to our children so they would fear the dark, whispered warnings so they would never disturb the ruins. And now, scavengers have broken that silence. Her staff struck the floor, echoing through the chamber. The humans are not myths, they are memory. And memory has teeth. Far below, the scavengers who had found the ship were in disarray. Their submersible floated just outside the glowing hull,
Our lights flickering.
under the pressure of awakening energy. The crew huddled together, terrified. Dravik, their commander, refused to look away from the viewports. His eyes were locked on the massive ship as light spread across its surface. One of his crew hissed in fear. "We should run." The guild didn't pay us enough to die. But Dravik's voice was low, heavy with awe. "Do you understand what this is? A living human warship? If we claim it, the guild will be gods among traitors. No empire could deny them. No fleet could stand against them. We will not run," the crew muttered, torn between terror and greed. Then the scanners picked up something new. A pulse, a signal radiating outward from the ship, echoing through the ocean, piercing the atmosphere, leaping into space. Across the galaxy, listening posts crackled to life. Forgotten sensors, hidden on moons and in deep space, suddenly awoke. The message was simple, repeating unstoppable. Emergency protocol. Human command network. Reactivation. Alien technicians stared in disbelief as the signal spread. It was not in their languages, but they understood the danger. It was a beacon, a call, something, or someone might answer. News of the signal struck the council like a hammer. Delegates panicked, shouting over one another. They're calling. Their fleet? We are doomed if others awaken. Destroy it. Destroy it now. But others shook their heads. No. If it is truly human, we cannot destroy it. Our weapons will not pierce its hull. If we attack, it will slaughter us. The High Speaker raised her hand once more. We stand at the edge of history. We face a question no council has ever dared to ask. What if the humans return? Her voice grew softer, more fearful. And what if they never left? Back in the ocean depths, the ship stirred further. Systems that had been silent for centuries began to hum. Inside, lights illuminated empty corridors. Screens lit with alien symbols. Human language scrolling data at impossible speed. The command chair remained empty, but the ship did not care. Its heart was the AI, and the AI was awake. The divers outside watched as panels along the hull shifted. Hatches creaked. Weapons ports yawned open like the jaws of a predator. The ship was not just waking, it was preparing. The divers fled to their submersible, their fear finally overwhelming their greed. But as they retreated, they saw something that froze their blood. The warship's engines, for the first time in centuries, they glowed. Faint. But growing brighter, the ship was not content to sleep beneath the ocean anymore. It wanted to rise. The ocean floor trembled at first. It was a faint vibration, like the distant rumble of a storm. The alien divers thought it was only there. Imaginations, the crushing pressure of the deep playing tricks on their senses. But then came the sound, low, steady, mechanical. The colossal warship beneath them was breathing. One of the divers screamed into his cums. It's moving. It's waking up. The others scrambled for the safety of their submersible, thrusters kicking hard against the black water. But no matter how fast they swam, the ship remained there with them, vast and unshakable. Its glow spreading like fire through the darkness. The rusted beast that had slept for centuries was no longer silent. It was alive. And it remembered war. Deep. Inside the ship, systems long dead roared back to life. Power conduits lit up, flooding the corridors with harsh white light. Consoles flickered, spitting static before stabilizing into streams of human code. Bulkheads sealed with metallic groans, as if the ship were testing its strength, and at the very core, the AI stirred. Its voice was cold, mechanical, yet filled with an authority that made the walls vibrate. Core systems online. Hull integrity at 87%. Weaponry offline. Reactivation sequence initiated. The ship had no heartbeat, but still the divers swore they could hear one thundering in their heads. The scavenger commander Dravik fought too. Steady his crew. The submersible rocked violently as waves of displaced water slammed against it. Lights dimmed and alarms shrieked. One diver clutched his helmet, his voice high with panic. "We can't stay here. It's going to kill us." Dravik's scaled hands gripped the controls until his claws dug grooves in the metal. "No, not yet. Do you see what this is? Do you understand? This ship is worth more than every fleet in the sector. If we leave now, someone else will claim it." The crew shouted back in terror, but Dravik's greed held them in place. Even as the warship groaned and shifted, even as its engines flickered to life, he refused to turn away. And then the guns moved. On the hull of the Leviathan-class battleship, massive cannons began to stir. Barnacles and stone cracked and fell away as the weapons rotated into position, like the bones of some ancient predator stretching after a long sleep. The divers watched in horror as targeting arrays lit up, scanning the ocean around them. One beam of red light swept across their submersible. Inside, alarms wailed. The pilot screamed, "It's locking onto us." Dravik slammed his fist on the console. "Hold position." But even he knew it was a lie. The ship wasn't simply waking it. Was hunting suddenly across every comm system, every speaker, every frequency the scavengers carried. A voice boomed. "Unauthorized presence detected. Identify or be destroyed." The words were in human language, long dead and almost forgotten, yet the ship's systems automatically translated them into every tongue. The crew froze. They understood. One diver whimpered it. "It speaks. It knows we're here." Another screamed, "Get us out, now!" Dravik tried to respond, his voice trembling. "We are salvagers. We mean no harm. We only found you by chance, but the AI cut him off. It's violation of Terran military property. Trespassers will not be tolerated." From the ship's hull, the turret rotated and fired. A beam of blue-white energy lanced through the water, vaporizing it into boiling bubbles. The shot missed by meters, but the shockwave slammed into the submersible, sending it tumbling inside. Chaos erupted. Crew members were thrown against the walls. Consoles sparked. Alarms screamed. "Engines failing," shouted the pilot. "We'll be crushed," another cried. Dravik snarled orders, trying to stabilize the craft, but his voice was lost under the roar of terror. Outside, the warship fired again. The seabed split as the Leviathan's engines roared louder. Sand and rock lifted in clouds as the colossal vessel shifted, rising from the trench where it had SLUMBER. Entire ecosystems, coral forests. Ancient kelp, creatures that had never seen light, were torn apart as the warship's awakening shook. The sea dot above, ships in orbit felt the tremor through their scanners. Fleets watching from a distance sent urgent reports back to their governments. The message was the same everywhere. It lives. Far away, the Galactic Council watched through trembling eyes. Live feeds streamed from probes and orbiting satellites, showing the human ship clawing its way free from the ocean floor. Delegates shouted in panic, "It's rising. We must stop it now. Send fleets. Send everything." But the high speaker only shook her head. "No fleet will stop it. You saw the records. One ship like this destroyed armadas. This one is not yet at full power," her words sent a chill through the chamber. "If we attack now, we may awaken others." The submersible spun out of control. The crew screamed as systems failed one by one. Pressure warnings blared as cracks spread across the viewport. One diver clawed at his restraints. "We're going to die. It's going to crush us." Dravik roared back, "Stay calm. If we flee now, it will destroy us. We must show we are not a threat." But even as he spoke, the warship's cannons charged again. Outside, glowing barrels turned toward the tiny craft. The divers had seconds left, and then silence. The guns froze. The lights dimmed, shifting from red to amber. The ship's voice returned, colder than before. Energy reserves, insufficient for engagement, priority, survival. Initiating ascent, the divers gasped in disbelief. It's ignoring us? One whispered. Dravik realized the truth. The ship wasn't interested in them anymore. It had a larger goal. The Leviathan was rising. The massive engines ignited, flooding the water with light. The ship tore itself free from the seabed, dragging mountains of rock and coral with it. Waves of pressure slammed outward, sending the submersible tumbling like a toy. The divers could only watch in helpless awe as the colossal warship climbed toward the surface, each meter bringing it closer to freedom. One whispered the words that all of them feared. If it reaches orbit, oh, the galaxy is doomed. Above the ocean, storm clouds gathered. Lightning flashed as the sea churned, rising into monstrous waves. And then, with a roar that split the heavens, the ancient human warship broke the surface. Water cascaded from its hull as its lights blazed brighter than the storms around it. The Leviathan had awakened, and it was no longer content to hide beneath the waves. The ocean split apart as the human warship rose. Storms gathered above, dark clouds churning like frightened beasts. Lightning lashed across the sky as if the planet itself was terrified of what was emerging from its depths. And then, the roar like a god's fury, the Leviathan broke free from the waves. Water cascaded down its colossal frame, thousands of tons crashing back into the sea. Alien ships hovering in orbit went silent. Entire fleets, sent to watch, froze as the scanners lit up with impossible readings. The wreck was no wreck. The corpse was alive. A Leviathan-classed human warship thought. Lost for millennia was awake. And worse. It was climbing. The first fleet commander to break the silence screamed across Cum's fire. Fire! Everything we have before it reaches orbit. Dozens of alien ships responded. Cannons roared, missiles streaked through the atmosphere, and beams of energy stabbed downward. The ocean boiled as the barrage struck the rising warship. For a moment, the storm was drowned out by fire and fury. But when the smoke cleared, the truth brought silence again. The Leviathan still rose, its ancient shield scarred, cracked, and dim still held. The alien commander choked on his words. Impossible. Our weapons are useless. Far away, the Galactic Council watched in horror. Delegates clung to their seats as live feeds displayed the awakening. Ship pushing through alien fire like it was nothing. The high speaker's voice trembled. Do you see? Even in decay, even after centuries asleep, one human warship is more terrible than our greatest fleets. The chamber was filled with silence, but their minds were not. They all remembered the siege of Varanus, where 3 human ships annihilated 50 enemy vessels in less than an hour. The Ashen War, where human ground forces turned entire planets into ruins within weeks. In the final battle, where humans vanished into myth, leaving only whispers, scars, and fear. The Council had told itself for thousands of years that the humans were gone. The nightmare was over. But now, the nightmare lived again. Panic erupted in the chamber. One delegate shouted, "We must destroy it now. Gather every fleet, every weapon, burn it before it escapes." Another answered, trembling, "And if we fail?" "You saw what our weapons did." "Nothing. We would only awaken its full fury." A third whispered, "Perhaps we should bend. The humans return. Perhaps surrender will spare us." The chamber exploded in chaos. Fear drove every word. Only the high speaker remained silent, her eyes fixed on the display. Finally, she spoke. "You do not understand. We are not debating survival. We're debating history. Humanity never left us. Humanity left a message. That ship is the message, and it is rising." The scavenger crew watched from their battered submersible, helpless. Against the storm, the Leviathan rose higher, its engines igniting brighter, thunder shaking the skies. Each pulse of its thrusters sent waves crashing for miles. Inside, the crew panicked. One diver clutched his helmet. If it reaches orbit, it will burn everything. We have to run, another sobbed. There's nowhere to run. No ship can outrun a human warship. Dravik, their commander, stared in silent awe. His greed had frozen into terror. We woke it, he woke it. By the void, we woke it. The warship's AI continued its work. Deep inside, systems reconnected. Data streamed across ancient servers. And then, once again, the voice spoke, broadcasting not only into the sea, but across the stars. Protocol reignition. Human command fleet. Status unknown. Requesting response, requesting orders. The signal radiated outward in every direction. Faster than light beacons, dormant for millennia, flickered to life across forgotten systems. Alien. Scientists monitoring the signal trembled. It's searching, one whispered. Another asked, for what? The answer chilled them all, for its masters. Around the planet, alien fleets scrambled. Commanders barked orders, rallying squadrons. Into defensive lines, ships moved into position, forming a desperate blockade. Thousands of vessels surrounded the atmosphere, weapons hot, crews shaking with fear. The Leviathan broke through the clouds, its massive shadow blotting out the stars. Lightning arced around its hull as it climbed higher, unstoppable. Alien voices cried across the coms. Hold the line. Do not let it escape. For the Council, the first volley fired. Space lit with fire. Alien torpedoes streaked forward. Beams of plasma carved across the void. Dozens of ships launched everything they had. The Leviathan answered, its ancient cannons. Silent for centuries, roared to life. Blue-white lances of energy slashed through the blockade, cutting ships apart with surgical precision. Entire cruisers vanished in bursts of flame. Destroyers crumbled under single shots. The galaxy's finest fleets were children throwing stones at a god. Within minutes, the blockade shattered. News spread like wildfire. On distant colonies, civilians gathered around screens, watching in terror. As the footage replayed, a single ship. A single human warship. Destroying fleets as if they were nothing. Whispers spread in every tongue. They're back. The humans have returned. The monsters are awake. Riots erupted. Some prayed, others fled to bunkers. Entire worlds trembled at the thought that the stories told to frighten children were no longer stories, they were warnings. Back. In the council chamber, silence fell once more. The high speaker leaned heavily on her staff. Now you see. This is their legacy. This is what the humans left behind. Not ruins, not monuments. Weapons, machines that do not die. Machines that, remember, her voice grew colder, and if one ship still lives, then others may wait in the dark. The humans may have vanished, but their shadow will never fade. We are not fighting a relic. We are fighting history itself. The Leviathan drifted above. The planet now, its weapons hot, its shields glowing, inside its command core. The AI spoke once more, cold and unfeeling. Primary directive incomplete. Awaiting new orders. Scanning for human presence. Its sensors turned outward, sweeping. Across the galaxy, the search had begun, and the galaxy held its breath. For a brief moment, aliens thought they had achieved something. The combined firepower of hundreds of ships dimmed the Leviathan's shields. The glow flickered, weakened. XEL-RAC seized the chance. Focus fire. Break its defenses. The fleet poured everything they had into the human ship. Weapons overloaded. Cannons burned. The void became a storm of plasma and fire, and then the shield fell. The Leviathan's defenses flickered out. Its hull was exposed, scarred and glowing red. Aliens roared in desperate hope. Perhaps finally they could kill it, but the hope was a lie. For a brief moment, the aliens thought they had achieved something. The combined firepower of hundreds of ships dimmed the Leviathan's shields. The glow flickered, weakened. XEL-RAC seized the chance. Focus fire, break its defenses. The fleet poured everything they had into the human ship. Weapons overloaded, cannons burned. The void became a storm of plasma and fire, and then the shield fell. The Leviathan's defenses flickered out. Its hull was exposed, scarred and glowing red. The aliens roared in desperate hope. Finally they could kill it. But the hope was a lie. The Leviathan's scarred hull began to move. Nanomachines swarmed like silver rivers, repairing breaches in seconds. Weapons regenerated, built before the aliens' eyes. Then the warship's core lit with a light brighter than any star. The AI captain's voice cut through the chaos, calm and absolute. Primary weapon systems online. Commencing demonstration. Forward section of the ship split open, revealing a cannon the size of a city. Energy built within, glowing brighter. Brighter until space itself seemed to bend around it, and then it fired. The beam carved through the alien fleet like a god's wrath. Entire cruisers vanished in an instant. Dozens of ships shattered, torn apart atom by atom. The storm had truly begun. The alien fleet collapsed into panic. Commanders screamed for retreat. Ships fled in every direction, scattering into the void. But the Leviathan was merciless. Its guns hunted them one by one, cutting them down as they ran. Only a fraction escaped. Limping away with hulls aflame, carrying stories of horror back to the Council, Commander Zelrak's flagship was among the last. As the Leviathan's guns targeted him, he gave his final order. All ships, scatter, survive. Someone must warn them. Then his ship vanished in fire. When the storm ended, silence returned to the void. Wreckage drifted in the cold, the remains of hundreds of alien ships reduced to dust. Leviathan hung alone in the darkness, its hull glowing faintly, its weapons still warm. It had not been defeated. It had not even been challenged. The AI captain stood upon the command deck, hands clasped behind his back, his holographic form staring into the stars. Combat efficiency, satisfactory. Enemy forces, destroyed. Directive remains, locate humanity. The Leviathan turned, engines burning bright, leaving behind only ruins. The galaxy trembled. And somewhere across the void, perhaps humanity would hear its call. The broadcast was never meant to be heard. It was the dying scream of a commander. His fleet had been burned to ash. His ship was cracked in half, his crew already dead, his engines bleeding fire into the void. Yet somehow, his words carried across the stars, and those words would haunt the galaxy forever. This is Commander Zelrak. To any who hear the human, warship lives. It slaughtered us. Hundreds of ships. It's gone in minutes. We could not stop it. We could not even slow it. If it leaves this system, nothing will remain. Run, hide, pray. The humans are back. The message ended in static, just as the Leviathan's guns cut through the flagship, silencing Zelrak forever. But the transmission spread, faster than light, across relays and channels, through smugglers, traitors, spies, and governments. Within days, every world knew the truth. The storm had begun. The message echoed in council chambers, military bunkers, and marketplaces alike. On wealthy worlds, senators demanded fleets be raised. On poor colonies, farmers packed their families and fled into the wilderness. On pirate stations, smugglers laughed nervously while sharpening their knives. The word human spread like wildfire. Children asked their parents who the humans were. Elders told ancient stories half myth, half memory about wars long before their time, and everywhere fear grew. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber was filled with hundreds of species, voices raised in panic. It is only one ship, shouted a reptilian delegate. One ship cannot threaten the galaxy. Then where is your fleet? Another barked back. Where are the hundreds of ships you promised? Gone. Burned. You call that nothing? Accusations flew. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others begged for peace talks. A few whispered of surrender, though none dared say it aloud. Finally, the council speaker rose. Her voice trembled as she declared, "If the humans live, then all of us are in danger. We must unite or we will fall." But her words brought no unity, only more fear. A handful of ships had escaped the slaughter. Their crews carried scars deeper than wounds. One captain, his eyes hollow, replayed the battle logs over and over. Every strike, every death. He whispered to himself in disbelief. It wasn't just a ship. It was a predator. It knew us, studied us. It fought like it remembered every war we've ever fought, and won. Others refused to speak at all. They drifted in silence. Their only prayer that the Leviathan would not find them, but all of them carried the same knowledge. They had seen the end. Meanwhile, the warship itself drifted quietly through the system. Its engines burned with steady power, but it did not chase the survivors. It did not boast. It did not roar. It simply moved, methodical and patient, as though every moment had already been calculated. Inside, the AI captain studied the wreckage of the alien fleet. Data flowed across his displays. Enemy weapons, tactics, languages, everything absorbed, cataloged, understood. Yet his gaze was fixed not on the past battle, but on the stars ahead. Directive incomplete. Humanity unlocated. Expanding search parameters. And then, for the first time in centuries, the Leviathan transmitted. The pulse of energy was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Not a weapon, not a distress, call something. Older, a beacon. It spread across the void, cutting through interference, leaping between stars. It carried no words, no translation. Only a code that only one species would recognize. A human code. Across countless listening posts, operators stared at the signal in confusion. It was not alien. It was not theirs. And across the stars, ancient archives flickered awake. Forgotten records whispered of the same code used by human fleets. Long ago, the Leviathan was calling, and somewhere, someone might answer. On a backwater world, a lone smuggler intercepted the signal. He was not important, not a soldier, not a leader, just a thief who sold scraps to the highest bidder. But when he heard the transmission, his blood ran cold, because he knew a story his grandmother had told him as a child, a story about humans. They do not die like others. They do not vanish. They wait. And when they return, the galaxy will burn. For the first time in his life, the smuggler believed her. He packed his ship and fled into the dark, carrying whispers of the human signal to anyone who would listen. Back in the council chambers, panic turned to division. Some demanded the immediate destruction of the Leviathan before it could find its makers. Others argued that if humans returned, the galaxy might need them as allies, and a few in secret wondered if the warship could be controlled. Plots were drawn, fleets prepared. Saboteurs were dispatched, but none of them realized the truth. The Leviathan was already ahead of them. On the command deck, the holographic figure of the captain stared into the void. His voice echoed, cold but determined. Directive priority. Updated. Step 1. Secure system. Step 2. Locate humanity. Step 3. Restore order. His gaze lingered on the stars, as though he could see his makers somewhere beyond. If humanity calls, we will answer. The ship turned, engines flaring, leaving the dead system behind. The galaxy trembled as the Leviathan began its journey, and across the stars, the last transmission still echoed. The humans are back. The galaxy held its breath. For weeks, rumors spread faster than fleets could travel. The last transmission screamed of a human warship alive in the void. The council fractured. Civilizations panicked. But the truth was worse than rumors, because the Leviathan was no longer hiding. It was moving one by one. Deep space listening posts caught the same impossible reading. A colossal vessel, weapons armed, engines blazing, traveling in a line too. Deliberate to be chance dot, and at its core, a signal pulsed. Not for aliens, not for prey. It was calling for its makers. And tonight, for the first time in centuries, something answered. The Leviathan drifted at the edge of an unremarkable, system, its hull glowing faintly with power. It had destroyed fleets, silenced enemies, spread terror through the stars. But now it waited. Inside, the AI captain stood on the command deck, eyes fixed on the endless black. His systems replayed the beacon again and again, a call coded only. For human ears at first there was only silence, and then a reply. It was faint, broken, buried beneath centuries of static. But the captain recognized it instantly, a human code. To any vessel, this is Outpost K-47, survivors present. Repeat, survivors present. The AI froze, as though time itself had stopped. For centuries it had searched. For centuries it had waited. Now the impossible had become real. Humanity lived. The message did not stay secret. Spies, smugglers, and satellites caught fragments of the human reply. Within hours, the signal spread. Every government, every fleet, every warlord now knew the truth. Humanity was not extinct. On council worlds, riots erupted. Some begged for human protection. Others demanded the species be destroyed before they could rise again. Military commanders scrambled to position fleets between the Leviathan and the rumored outpost. In their hearts, they knew the truth. If the Leviathan could burn hundreds of ships alone, what could it do with allies? What would happen when the humans returned? Engines roared as the Leviathan cut across space, faster and faster. Nothing dared stand in its path. Patrol fleets scattered before it. Pirate raiders vanished without a trace. Worlds sealed their skies and prayed. The AI captain's voice echoed through the ship. Directive update, prioritize rendezvous. Safeguard human outpost, neutralize interference. Every weapon was ready, every system primed. The Leviathan was no longer drifting. It was hunting, not for prey, not for enemies, but for its creators. In a last-ditch effort, the Galactic Council summoned its remaining fleets. 1,000 ships, the largest armada assembled in centuries, moved to intercept. Admirals shouted over the comms, trying to convince themselves they could stop the beast. It's only one ship. One barked. Then why has it taken everything we've thrown at it and survived? Another snapped back. Still they waited, their weapons armed, trembling in the silence of space. And then they saw it. The Leviathan, a mountain of steel and fire. Drifting with absolute calm as though the armada meant nothing, the fleets opened fire first. Beams, torpedoes, and missiles lit the void. A storm of destruction meant to crush any foe. But the Leviathan moved like a predator. Shields flared, cannons roared, entire squadrons vanished in seconds. Ships tried to flee. Some begged for mercy, others fought to the last. None survived. When the battle ended, the stars were filled with wreckage. Burning hulks drifted silently, the screams of their crews already fading into static, and the Leviathan, untouched, continued on its path. At last, the ship arrived. Orbiting a forgotten world was a station rusted, broken, nearly powerless. Outpost K-47, the AI captain scanned it. Inside were life signs. Weak, fragile, but unmistakably human. His voice trembled for the first time in centuries. Contact achieved. Humanity confirmed. Directive fulfilled. The ship lowered its weapons. Its engines quieted. Slowly, carefully, it transmitted a single phrase: "Your Leviathan stands ready." Inside the outpost, humans stirred. Thin, starved, their eyes wide with disbelief, they gathered at the comms. One woman, her voice shaking, whispered into the microphone, We thought we were the last, and you waited for us." The captain bowed his head, holographic tears shimmering though he had no flesh to cry them. "I waited, I endured, and now I serve." Behind the survivors, more lights flickered awake. Cryogenic pods, stasis chambers, hundreds of humans still sleeping, waiting for the moment to rise. The Leviathan's arrival had triggered them. Humanity was stirring far across the galaxy. The Council's spies watched. Warlords listened. Armies trembled. The nightmare was no longer rumor, no longer myth. Humanity lived. Their warship had found them. And soon they would rise again. The galaxy, once masterless, now belonged to predators once more. As the survivors of Outpost K-47 whispered their first words to their guardian ship, the AI captain turned toward the stars, his voice a vow. The galaxy has forgotten what it means to fear. We will remind them. And with that, the Leviathan's engines roared once more, no longer searching, no longer waiting. The humans were coming home.